Being broke is not a money problem. I know that because I had a Google salary and still felt broke. One unexpected expense away from panic every single month. The problem was never the paycheck. It was 5 beliefs quietly running my financial life into the ground. The moment I identified and destroyed them, everything changed. Today, I make $250,000 a year trading from anywhere I want. In this video, I'm breaking down all 5 and exactly how to kill them for good. Belief number 1, I'm just bad with numbers. One belief I personally had for a long time was thinking I just wasn't naturally a numbers person. So for the longest time, I assumed trading and finance just weren't really for me. Somewhere along the way, I started associating money, investing, and trading with people who were naturally gifted at math or finance. And if you didn't fit into that category, you just assumed it wasn't your lane. I believed that for probably over a decade, which is crazy to think about now because that belief alone stopped me from even exploring opportunities that could have changed my life sooner. And I think a lot of people do the exact same thing. We see charts, numbers, financial terms, and immediately think we're not smart enough for it. But what I eventually realized is that profitable trading isn't about being some math genius. It's about pattern recognition, discipline, risk management, and following a system consistently. And these beliefs are dangerous because they don't just affect your confidence, they affect your entire future. They stop people from learning skills that they could create real freedom, real independence, and real wealth over time from. They keep people dependent on jobs they hate, relationships they have outgrown, or lifestyles they secretly felt trapped in. And the scary part is, most people never even realize it's the belief holding them back. They just assume this life is how it's always going to be. And once I stopped treating money like something intimidating, everything started becoming a lot easier to learn. There are 100 different ways to build wealth today. Real estate, business, investing, trading, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you trading is the only path, but I will tell you why it became mine and why I genuinely think it's one of the most realistic ways for people to create freedom without needing millions of dollars or years of experience to start. For me, what made trading click was the flexibility. The fact that I could do it from anywhere in the world as long as I had a laptop and Wi-Fi. I didn't have to commute. I didn't have to dress up and sit in an office all day. I could control my own schedule and still have the rest of my day back. Seeing my dad do this successfully for over 30 years made it feel real to me. Trading wasn't some internet fantasy in my household. I watched it become his primary source of income and completely changed the way he lived his life. And another thing I love about trading was that there really isn't a ceiling on your income. Your results are tied to your skill, your discipline, and your consistency, not waiting years for a promotion or hoping someone else decides what you're worth. And I also think trading is uniquely good for people in a lot of ways. There's no office politics, no commute, no needing to manage huge teams or constantly be on socially. You can build this skill quietly from home, around your own schedule, your kids, your job, or whatever season of life you're in. Belief number 2, money is intimidating. It's not for someone like me. This one is sneaky because it doesn't always sound like a belief, it sounds like a fact, but it's not. I'm not smart enough to understand money. I don't have a finance background. Once you stop seeing money as something complicated and start seeing it as a learnable skill, that's when everything changes. Let me show you exactly what I mean. When most people look at trading for the first time, they get overwhelmed within 5 minutes. There are dozens of indicators, hundreds of chart patterns. Every YouTube video sounds different. And it starts feeling like you need a finance degree just to understand what's happening. But you don't. The less you try to learn at once, the faster you improve. One setup repeated 1,000 times will always beat trying 10 different setups once, because clarity creates better decisions and confusion creates emotional trading. Personally, the strategy I use and what we teach over at Stock Navigators is called the ATM strategy, which stands for Analyze, Trade, Multiply. What I like about it is that it's very rules-based and simple. First, you analyze the market using price action and key levels instead of relying on a bunch of indicators. Then you wait for specific repeatable setups before entering a trade. And every trade has strict risk management built into it from the beginning. Meaning, I already know exactly where I'm getting in, where I'm getting out if I'm wrong, and where I'm taking profit before I even place a trade. And once consistency starts building over time, that's where the multiply part comes in, carefully scaling up while still protecting your capital. What matters most isn't the strategy itself, it's the discipline behind it. Inside Stock Navigators, we focus heavily on following rules over chasing profits. Some days you can follow every single rule perfectly and still lose money, and that can still be a good trading day. Because long-term profitability comes from consistency and discipline, not emotional decisions. Belief number 3, wanting more money makes me greedy or shallow. A lot of people were raised to believe that ambition around money is something to be ashamed of, so they shrink their goals before they even set them. Feeling like wanting more money somehow makes you shallow, materialistic, or greedy. So a lot of people end up shrinking their goals financially before they even try. But here's the truth. Wanting financial freedom doesn't make you greedy. Wanting peace, stability, options, freedom, and independence is not greed. And learning how money works is not some skill reserved for finance people or men on Wall Street. Let me tell you what financial freedom actually looks like. The Instagram version of it has done so much damage. Social media makes financial freedom look like Lamborghinis, mansions, designer bags, private jets, expensive watches, all this loud flex culture. And for a lot of people, constantly seeing that stuff just makes them feel even more behind. Like, if your life doesn't look like that, you're somehow failing. What does real financial freedom actually look like day to day? Real financial freedom is way quieter than people think. It's not stressing over every dollar. It's not checking your bank account before buying groceries. It's being able to go out to dinner and order what you actually want instead of calculating prices in your head the entire time. It's living somewhere safe and peaceful. It's being able to take a vacation without panicking about money afterwards. It's being able to help your family, help other people, and give back without feeling financially stretched yourself. The older I get, the more I realize real freedom feels a lot more like peace than it does luxury. It's quiet. It's waking up without anxiety. It's having control over your time and your life. And if I'm being completely honest, my day-to-day life now is actually pretty simple. Since I'm on the West Coast, I wake up around 6 a.m. Pacific time. I trade from around 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning, and on slower market days, maybe until 10 a.m. max. But regardless, my laptop is usually closed by 10:30. Then I'll go eat breakfast, get ready for the day, maybe work out, run errands, work on stock navigators, cook, or just enjoy the rest of my day. Being able to control my own schedule and my own life is something I never take for granted. Then I usually eat dinner around 7 p.m. and be in bed by 9:30 or 10 latest. And that's really the point I want people to understand from this entire video. Financial freedom doesn't have to look flashy. It just has to give you peace. And if you're watching this thinking, okay, but I still have no idea where to even start, that's exactly why we built Stock Navigators. Inside, I personally walk people through everything step by step, from live trading sessions to the exact strategy I use, to weekly support and a community of other people learning alongside you. I've already watched people like Shova go from inconsistent to her first consistently profitable month, and Janine completely replaced her photography income and now trade full-time from home. So if this is something you want to take seriously and learn, the first link in the description is where you can get started. Belief number 4, someone else will eventually take care of me. Whether it's a partner, a parent, or a company, a lot of people are quietly waiting to be financially rescued, and that waiting is costing them years. Someone else will eventually take care of me. And another belief that gets deeply ingrained in people specifically, nobody is born knowing how money works. Some people were just exposed to it earlier than others. It's learnable. Most of the people I've seen become financially successful weren't the smartest people in the room. They were just the ones willing to stop doubting themselves long enough to learn. Because once you stop seeing money as something intimidating and start seeing it as a skill, your entire life can change. Financial freedom starts with taking responsibility. There's a moment every person who builds financial freedom eventually has to go through. It's not a pretty moment. It's the moment you realize no one is coming to save you. No partner is coming to magically fix your life. Your parents aren't going to rescue your future forever. No company is going to care about your life more than you do. At the end of the day, companies will always do what's best for the company. And no perfect moment is suddenly going to appear where everything feels safe and easy. And I know that sounds harsh, but once it finally clicks, it's actually one of the most freeing realizations you can have. Because you stop waiting. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for validation. You stop waiting for someone else's timeline to determine your future. And you finally realize, this is my life. Which means I'm responsible for changing it. Because the second you fully take ownership of your life, you stop being reactive and start becoming proactive. You become the hero of your own story instead of waiting for someone else to come save you. And I remember exactly when that shift happened for me financially. I was working at a company where the department I was in wasn't doing well financially. And they gave us a heads up that our pay was going to get cut by more than 50%. And I remember sitting there thinking, wait, this entire situation has nothing to do with my work ethic. work. I was showing up, grinding 50 to 60 hours a week, doing everything I was supposed to do. And yet, my entire life was suddenly about to change because of decisions completely outside of my control. And that's when it hit me. I don't want my future tied to whether a company is having a good quarter or not. I don't want my income controlled by someone else forever. And that was the moment I decided I wanted to build something where I had more control over my own future. Belief number 5. This is just how my life is going to be. This is the most dangerous belief of them all because it's not loud and it doesn't announce itself. It just kills your ambition one day at a time without you even noticing. Before I tell you what to do, I need to talk about where you probably are right now. Because if I skip this part, none of the tactical stuff is actually going to land. And for me, the feeling of being financially trapped didn't come from one single moment. It was the buildup of years working jobs that looked amazing on paper, but didn't actually give me the life I wanted. From the outside, it looked like I had the perfect career. I worked at companies people dream about. Palo Alto Networks, Oracle, Google. I had the title, the salary, the benefits, all of it. But what people didn't see was the reality behind it. I was working 50, sometimes 60 hours a week. My entire schedule revolved around work. And yeah, the money was good, it paid the bills. But internally, I just wasn't happy. I felt empty, like something was missing even though I had technically made it. And the weirdest part was, the more successful I became, the harder it felt to leave. Because over time, I built a lifestyle around that income. The apartment, the routine, the comfort, the expectations, all of it became tied to that paycheck. That's why people call it the golden handcuffs. On the outside, it looks successful, but internally, you feel stuck. Because the second you think about walking away, it feels like your entire life could collapse with it. And at that time, I genuinely didn't see a way out. The thing that finally cracked this belief for me was realizing that the people creating freedom for themselves financially weren't actually that different from me. They weren't all geniuses. They weren't all born rich. And they didn't all have some secret advantage that I didn't have access to. What really shifted things for me was my brother constantly pushing me to stop playing small and actually go after my full potential. He was basically the first person who made me question the way I was thinking about my life. Because up until that point, I thought the safe corporate path was just something you were supposed to do. Work hard, get promoted, make good money, repeat. Nobody had really shown me another option before that. But eventually, I started realizing the belief that I wasn't capable of building financial freedom wasn't actually true. It was just familiar. And once that clicked for me, everything started changing. I stopped looking at money as something intimidating and started looking at it as a skill I could learn. I became way more intentional with my time, my energy, and what I was building towards long term. I no longer felt like my entire future depended on a paycheck from a company. I started feeling like I actually had control over my life again. And that's a part nobody talks about enough. Financial freedom doesn't just change your bank account. It changes the way you think, the way you carry yourself, and what you believe is possible for your future. If I could go back and warn my younger self about one thing before starting trading, it would be this. The biggest mistake beginners make isn't choosing the wrong strategy or the wrong broker. It's expecting the wrong outcome from the beginning. Most beginners come into trading with this fantasy that they're going to turn $1,000 into $10,000 in their first month, quit their job immediately, buy a luxury car, and become financially free overnight. Social media makes this even worse because people only post their wins. Nobody posts the years of losing, learning, struggling, and building discipline behind the scenes. So beginners come into the market treating trading like a slot machine instead of a skill, and that mindset destroys them. One of the biggest examples of this is what I call the market owes me mindset. A trade starts going against them, but instead of taking the small loss, they refuse to close it because emotionally they need to be right. So they hold the loss longer, hoping it magically reverses. Or worse, they double down and add even more size trying to make it back. And that's how one bad trade turns into blowing up an entire account. Another trap beginners fall into is constantly searching for the perfect strategy. They think there's some secret indicator or hidden setup that wins 100% of the time. So every time they lose a trade, which is completely normal, they immediately abandon the strategy and jump to another one. And they repeat that cycle over and over instead of actually mastering anything. But the reality of becoming profitable looks completely different than what people expect. Month 1, you're probably going to lose money, and that's normal. That's tuition. You're learning a skill. Around month 6, most people are still inconsistent. Some good weeks, some bad weeks, still figuring themselves out emotionally. And by year 1, the goal shouldn't even be becoming rich. The goal should be becoming skilled, because profits come after the discipline, the consistency, and the experience. I actually saw this happen recently with with a newer student inside the program. She came in dealing with about $20,000 in debt and was hoping trading would quickly get her out of that situation. And because her entire focus was on making money immediately, it completely affected the way that she learned. She was rushing through everything trying to get to the profits instead of actually understanding the strategy. And ironically, that mindset slowed her progress down even more. Because when you're desperate for money, you stop learning properly. You start forcing outcomes instead of building skill. The biggest mental shift that fixes all of this is simple. Stop treating trading like gambling and start treating it like learning a profession. Learn the strategy first. Learn risk management first. Learn discipline first, then profits come after. And if you're in a trade that's going against you, understand this. A small loss is always better than a massive one. Protecting your capital is what keeps you in the game long enough to eventually win. So stop measuring your progress by how much money you made this week. Measure it by how disciplined you were. Because realistic expectations are what keeps you in the game long enough for your skill to finally compound. So if you're ready to actually build this for yourself and you want me to personally walk you through everything I covered in this video with live training, weekly support, and a community of people doing this alongside you, make sure to click the first link in the description to get started. The information inside has already helped people like Shova go from feeling completely overwhelmed in her first consistently profitable month, and Janine replaced her photography income from home. And if they can do it, there's absolutely no reason you can't too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.